So, just when you think you've heard it all the things I could tell you about on here, what have I ever told you about my experiences of dealing with ghosts? Some say ghosts aren't real, they don't exist until you've experienced it yourself, the supernatural. Then, skeptics change their mind immediately once it happens. Tell me your ghost experiences down below in the comments section. Okay, let's start. Where do I begin? Well, it was the summer of 1993. We got this house. We thought it was a really good deal, and we were excited to move into this big 2-story house with many rooms. And we were like, maybe there's just, I don't know, can't be something not wrong. It's not like someone was murdered there. And so when we got it, we were happy. We moved in, and then a few weeks in, things started happening very lightly. It was very quiet at first, and then we started hearing things, and then we were like, oh, that's nothing. It's probably the neighbors talking, or maybe it's an animal outside. And then the more we ignored it, the more aggressive it became. I lived in a room where everything happened. The rituals, the seances, probably the murders. The thing was, it was a while back ago that this stuff happened. Because I went into the attic one day and I found an old black and white television. So I brought it downstairs. And over time, things started getting worse and worse. I would hear these footsteps going up and down the stairs. And I would look out, turn around behind me, and no one's there. And they would get so loud that it would startle you. Guests would come into the house, is someone here? And they'll be quiet. So my mom called a priest to try and bless the house. Well, after that, it got worse. Got way worse. My mom found that out the hard way. Is she had these porcelain statues in the kitchen, and the necks on these statues snapped. And like, pop! It exploded. It cracked in half. The neck just went. And startled, my mom thought I knocked it over, got mad at me, and glued it back in place. The following day, again. So she realized that it wasn't me, and she was starting to get scared about that place. And then time went by, things mellowed out a little bit, and then I was in the swimming pool in the back one day. I was about 9 years old. I was swimming in there. I had on some goggles And I felt something grab my leg. And it just felt weird. There was this energy. I can't describe it. It was like something that wasn't supposed to be happening was happening. And I felt a hand grab my leg. And I kept on struggling and struggling to get to the surface. And it took me about a minute to get up to the surface before it let go. I turned around, look in the pool. No one was there. And then I told my mom about it. And I couldn't be in the pool without anyone else being in there because of that incident. And then later on, there was this incident in that house where the smoke alarms went off all by themselves. We called the fire department because we were scared. We didn't know what was going on. The fire department went in there with the smoke things, the detectors and all the tools. There was no traces of carbon monoxide or smoke. So what caused that? And then we had this other incident that also happened in the house. Since I lived in the most possessed room, I remember one day, my brother would tell you this. He would tell you about it too, because we saw it together. It wasn't me. It was two people seeing it at the same time. We saw these legs sticking out of the attic, and I went to my brother and I was like, "You seeing this, man? You're seeing this?" He's like, "Yeah, I see it." And all of a sudden, the most eeriest thing happened. Those legs started shaking in a way that isn't human. The way they were shaking was like nothing I've ever seen before in my life. They were shaking, changing all sorts of crazy colors and shit. And it wasn't just me seeing it. My brother was seeing the same thing. Time went on. And then I was sleeping one night. I felt this hand touch me. That's the first time I ever felt what death felt like. It was the most bitter cold you can ever feel. Colder than ice. This energy, this tingling energy. Something that can only be described as not natural. It was terrifying. I had bruises, too, that couldn't be described. They're like on my leg and chest and arm. The place was Liberty Circle. There was a 2-story house, had an olive tree in the front. It was gated. My memories of the 90s and childhood were ruined by that place. Those memories are going to stick with me as long as I live. We moved out, but it took a year for my mom to save up to move out of that place. And it still sticks with me, those memories.